All right, hello, this is Daniel Barrett, and I'm making this video about detecting complete horseshit because there is a ton of complete horseshit going around, and there's a lot of it. And look, some of it's deliberate, some of it isn't, and I'm not here to tell you which is which, but I do want to try to give you some tools for detecting complete horseshit, both in other people and in yourself, because sometimes you just find yourself victim of your own brain deciding to spew complete horseshit. It's happened to the best of us. So let's get into how we do this. See, people find it very hard to say nothing. If there's a situation that everybody's talking about that's very important, that people want to weigh in on, it is literally physically painful for people to admit that maybe they don't have something super valuable to say, or they don't have a bunch of evidence to back up their beliefs. It's actually kind of painful for us. But we also hate looking stupid. So we don't just want to say anything. We don't want to just blurt out any old thing that comes to mind, because then people are going to know how ridiculous we are. And we are all ridiculous inside. If anything, this is the message I'm trying to give you. I'm not better than you or anybody else I'm talking about in this video. We all hate looking stupid, but we all want to say something, and so we're kind of stuck between these two competing forces. Luckily for us, there's a cognitive bias for that. There's a thing out there called the Barnum Effect, named after P.T. Barnum, who's the taller gentleman here, pictured with Tom Thumb. And P.T. Barnum, of course, is the infamous American showman and trickster who's probably most famous today for coining the phrase, "There's a sucker born every minute." And I gotta say, if there is, that quote has gotta be up there in the quote hall of fame. That's a truly incredible one. So here's what the Barnum Effect is. People are very gullible when you give them statements about themselves. If you tell someone a statement that basically means nothing or is so broad as it could possibly just, apply to everybody, people will tend to think that it applies specifically to them. And there's, a bunch of experiments done around these, and specifically there are things called the Barnum sentences. These are a couple over the side. You have a great need for other people to like and admire you. You have a great deal of unused capacity, which you haven't turned to your advantage. You're disciplined and self-controlled outside, but you tend to be worrisome and insecure inside. And you prefer a certain amount of change and variety, and become dissatisfied when hemmed in by restrictions and limitations. Well, what ends up happening is that if you tell people that these are, for example, a horoscope or the results of a personality test that they took, and you tell them that this is what the test spit out in describing their personality or their horoscope, pretty much everybody believes that these apply to them, even though they give these sentences to everybody. And look, they're so broad and general that they don't really give you any information. Like, I hate to break it to you, but everybody wants people to like and admire them. Everybody has unused capacity. Everyone is disciplined outside and worrisome inside. It's just so broad that it doesn't really mean anything. And if you are thinking that this is maybe the way that most horoscopes work, or astrology works, or fortune reading works, then yes, this is one of the fundamental underlying mechanisms that make people think that a thing that's printed in the newspaper and read by hundreds of thousands of people somehow applies to them. It's not the only thing that's at play. And look, I'm not saying that everybody that does these things is out to fool people. I think a lot of these people believe in the efficacy of what they're doing, but this is the underlying psychological mechanism that works here. And it's human. It's something that affects everybody. It's universal, right? We all tend to think that really broad general statements apply to us. And I would argue that there's something else at play here too, because we all subconsciously want to agree. We want to agree with each other. We want people to agree with us. We want to agree with the things that other people say. We want there to be consensus. We're a herd animal. We like to be surrounded by people that are like us. And nothing is more dissatisfying or unnerving than realizing that the people around you who you thought were like you actually think and feel very differently. It's kind of an unpleasant experience. So we want to agree. And we want to say something, but we don't want to look stupid. So what do we say? Well, it's easy to sound wise and to get people to agree with us if we basically say nothing at all. If we say the rational and argumentative equivalent of a Barnum sentence, right? Let me give you an example, and this is straight from my Facebook feed. As I record this, we're dealing with the coronavirus epidemic. Someone posted this. Look, people need to do what they need to do in order to protect their health. But we also need to make sure not to act out of panic. Now, this was a post that got a fair amount of comments, fair amount of likes. Great. And yes, it's very nice. But is this bullshit? Yes, it's bullshit. And I'm going to show you exactly why, because there is a very simple bullshit detection mechanism. And here's what it is. Reversal. Reversal. If it sounds abnormal in the reverse, it's probably bullshit. Let me give you some examples. Let's actually take the Barnum sentences and let's put them through this little filter to see what happens. You have a great need for other people to like and admire you. So that's the Barnum sentence. Now let's put it through the reversal filter. You have a great need for other people to dislike and despise you. Now, does that sound abnormal? I would argue, yes. I don't know many people who have a great need for other people to dislike and despise them. You have a great deal of unused capacity, which you have not turned to your advantage. Let's reverse it. You have absolutely no unused capacity, which you have turned to your advantage. Does that make any sense? No. Let's use this exact filter with this Facebook post. People need to do what they need in order to protect their health, but we also need to make sure not to act out of panic. That's the original. Here's the reversal. People need to not do what they need in order to protect their health, but we also need to make sure to act out of panic. Does that make any sense? Would anyone in their right mind say this sentence? The answer is no. And what this means is that there's actually no useful information in the original. People need to do what they need to do in order to protect their health. Great. But what is that? And to what extent do they need to do that? And what do they need to sacrifice in order to pursue that? And should they pursue that over other needs that are maybe conflicting? We also need to make sure not to act out of panic. Really? Are you sure we shouldn't all panic right now? Should we all be completely hysterical? The reason it doesn't work in reverse is because it never really worked going the right way. The thing here is that this person wants to say something, but they have nothing of import to say. They are actually passing no new information on in this sentence. They're simply saying something that we can all mindlessly agree with. It sounds weird in reverse because no new information is being passed on. These are just truisms because people are afraid of saying nothing. And when people are afraid of saying nothing, but they're afraid of saying something stupid, what they're going to do is tell you the argumentative equivalent of a Barnum sentence, which is a sentence with no new information that everybody feels can apply to them. So the next time that you think someone is spouting bullshit, run it through the reversal filter and see if it sounds abnormal. This is Daniel Barrett from NoLessThan.com signing off.